Welcome to Verify in Field, the Millwork Podcast. Your host, Jacob Edmond, CEO of Ductworks, will be interviewing experts in the industry to bring you insights and knowledge about the latest trends, techniques, and challenges in millwork. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and join us as we explore the world of millwork. Here's Jacob.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Doug. We've got Doug McLean today, and Doug is a millwork estimator, a senior millwork estimator, I believe, for Town Millwork up in Canada. And I've mostly been following you, I think, with your Bluebeam content on LinkedIn, I think is how we originally got connected.
I think so, yeah.
But yeah, thank you for joining us. To start, if you could share a little bit about just your background and how you got to your current role in millwork estimating.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I was saying just off air, I've been listening to the podcast. It's great to be kind of part of this community. I just got a little old and I wanted to get off the floor. It was hard on my knees, crawling around on the floor, building drywalls and whatever. And there's a role at Town came open to be an estimator. And I jumped into that. That was probably 8.5 years ago now, and just took the chance.
Nice.
Yeah.
And before that, you were working in production?
When I started in this industry, I did start at the bottom. My first 9 months of this industry, I did nothing but laminate, just laminate cabinets. It drove me crazy. Eventually I moved on as a sawyer and I spent a couple of years there, went into an apprenticeship. So I am a full journeyman. And then I moved into CNC operations, CNC programming, and that kind of stuff. It was funny, in my fourth year when we touch on CNC coding at BCIT, that I looked at the coding and I said, that's basic. And the instructor kind of was taken aback and he's like, yeah, mostly. I've been doing that since I was 14 years old. It just came to me very easily. So what a fun. But I'm glad I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. So you had some software coding experience back from high school? Starting high school?
High school, yes. We were just touching on, when I went to high school back in the 80s, sorry, I'm old, we were just touching on the coding aspect and that, but I was doing a lot of it on my own at home at the time. My dad was a big early adopter of things, and we had our computer at home, our home computer as early as 1981, I think was our first one. So it's amazing how it played out, because all that basic coding basically turned into how to parametric program a CNC, which is kind of cool, right?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. And that definitely leads to a lot of, we're going to talk about today, your aptitude with software, with Bluebeam and Power BI and stuff. You mentioned you're a full journeyman, so talk about that, because you're out of Canada, which you might be my first Canadian guest. I don't know. But
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Which there is a lot of overlap between U.S. and Canadian millwork industry, but there are some significant differences as well, I assume, just by nature of being in a different country. And so up there, you were a journeyman, I assume. Does that mean you were in a union, or is that just the apprenticeship?
No. The trades work a little bit differently up here than they do in the U.S. or even various different states. But millwork is one trade really up here that's never been unionized, especially in BC. I think there's 4 or 5 union shops maximum in the greater Vancouver area. But no, the apprenticeship it's government funded. So, and we do 6 weeks of school once a year for 4 years. And the rest of the time you basically need, I think it's 1,800 hours a year, which is pretty much a standard work week, for those 4 years. And at every level, a little bit different. And my ticket, which is in Canada, we call a red seal. I mean, it valid all the way across the country, and it's good in the US. It's still a recognized journeyman certificate. It does come with some academic credentials. Like I said, I went to the British Columbia Institute of Technology. So I come out of it with my ticket and essentially an associate's degree. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And so is that ultimately your entry into the industry, was starting with the apprenticeship, or you started working and then went and...
I started working and then went to an apprenticeship. Generally, you have to find an employer who's willing to sponsor you. And honestly, they really don't have to do anything except follow the prescribed guidelines and let you go to school once a week for 6 weeks. It's okay. And even when you're in school, you're not being paid by your employer. You get paid by the federal government while you're in school. The system works. We're expanding it here in British Columbia a little bit. You can now enter an apprenticeship straight out of high school, as everybody's got the same problems with not having young workers. It's just a thing. And even the joinery course through BCIT has been expanded now years. I believe there's another university up in Eastern British Columbia that also has the joinery program. So not everybody has to come into Vancouver.
Okay. And so then you're still in that today? So like still every year for 6 weeks, you go back to classes?
Yep. Once a year for 4 years, you get done. And then you write what's called your interprovincial exam at the end of it. And it's a national test, national standards. It covers various aspects of whatever trade you're going to be in. You pass it, you get in. Otherwise, you retake. It's a good program.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So getting into where you're at now, so obviously you're a millwork estimator, and I think I did one main episode in the past on estimating with Ben Hudacek, who was actually a contract estimator. So you're an estimator within a single company, and you have utilized Bluebeam. Tell us a little bit about what that role looks like for Town Millwork, being a millwork estimator, and your experience so far.
I look at estimating like it's a punch list. It's just a reverse punch list. We just go through and we read everything that we can. We start marking up drawings, trying to go, okay, where's this? What's here? Look, read, follow, whatever. Sometimes we'll get an outline that sometimes the general contractor's gone through that, or the architect's giving us a millwork schedule. We're starting to see that a little bit more in the bigger projects. Actually quite nice. And my job is to basically relay that onto, if we were to win it, relay that onto project management in the best way we can. That's the way it goes.
Okay. That makes sense. What are some of the major challenges? You mentioned talking that, especially listening to the guests that I've had here, very much the same everywhere. But what do you think are some of the unique challenges and complexities specific in millwork estimating?
For me, the biggest challenge is getting the general contractors to understand the complexities that are architectural millwork. We get a lot of cases where we're going in after they've submitted a budget and we find out their budget is way too low because they haven't taken into account any of the, you guys, we're AMAC here in Canada, Architectural Millwork Association of Canada. It's the same thing, but they don't take into account those rules when they've done their bids. So we have to do a lot of education. And so we get in constant fights. Wall paneling is a big one. They don't understand what premium means. They don't understand how that relates and ties into the casework. They don't understand the blemishes you're allowed in solid wood and all that kind of stuff. Those are the biggest challenges that we face and then they see this bill at the end for the inspection and they go, can we just take that out to save money? And we're like, no, sorry, can't do that. We can't even tell you have to go to the architect to take that out. And then they go, that is the biggest challenge by far, is education.
So in the case where the architect is specified AMAC premium, for example,
right?
And in that there's requirements for grade matching and quality of the cut of the wood and the stitching and things like that, whether it's balanced and center matched on every panel. Those things significantly impact the cost, both in material and in labor. You're having to stitch yourself or cut the panels to be balanced and book matched and things like that. Or you have to do, there's requirements on the construction of even casework that can significantly increase cost. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, we touched on this a little bit, but you ultimately came across my feed with Bluebeam. You share and are very active in the Bluebeam community, which I imagine you largely use for takeoffs and estimating.
Correct.
You talked a little bit about how you guys are leveraging Bluebeam in your daily workflows and your processes.
Yeah, we were doing a lot of work before with Bluebeam and then manually transferring all those markups into our into our estimating software. And we use Takeoff, by the way, People Logic software. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it is a really good estimating software. I know there's others out there. And it was like, what are we doing? This was like, we're making all these markups and then manually transferring data into them. So I came up with a process where I started customizing review to its full extent and using it more as a takeoff tool, and then figured out a way to digitally import all those markups into my takeoff software. And it cut our time down on any given estimate by days just by doing this, right?
So for those who maybe aren't familiar, obviously Bluebeam is essentially a PDF software, but I think a lot of people only think of it as that, and they compare it to Adobe Acrobat, and which in many ways they are competitors. It is a PDF viewing, Bluebeam View. There's a free version of it. Bluebeam Review is the main application most people use, and obviously there's a lot of other kind of branches up from there. With that used to be Standard and Extreme, and now I think they've got Core,
Complete, and
Complete, Essential. Maybe
it's a basic. Core is the main version now, and then Complete is basically compatible with Extreme. Yeah.
But it is largely like geared towards the construction and manufacturing industry.
Yeah.
And it is used, and it has a lot of other features to it. It has Bluebeam Studio, which is a cloud collaboration and storage version of it, or Atom. But it is, in many ways, the Extreme is a CAD vector-based application on top of PDFs, right?
Yep.
And in addition, what you said, you've got markups, you've got the ability to extract data from it, pull data into it. And so I think a lot of people have heard of Bluebeam, a lot of people have interacted with it, used it, but I think most people think of it as just, hey, I could view PDFs, edit PDFs, mark them up, sign them, and they maybe don't know much beyond that.
Right.
Is that your experience?
It is. From when you're the basic general user, it is for sure. Once you start using it as an estimating tool, you can really take it to what I believe is its full level. I mean, the collaboration aspects when you get into a studio session are unmatched. Haven't seen one yet that matches anything, and I still don't know another program that multiple people can be working on the same document and have it fully tracked like you can in a session. But once you turn Bluebeam loose for estimating, when you get into adding the custom columns and adding custom formulas, which, okay, it can do basic formulas. It's not Excel. And if you try to make it Excel, you're going to run into problems. But when you add all that to it, you turn it into this amazing tool that visualizes everything for you and creates so much data that you got to quickly learn how to deal with, right? But it's usable data, and that's really the important thing.
Yeah.
Right?
And so for a little bit more context in the realm of takeoff software, right?
Yeah.
And particularly in Millwork, the most common competitors for that task I think of are like on-screen takeoff, OST, right, or Plain Swift.
Yeah. Energy has their basics, and we got a demo on Energy. We're still contemplating jumping to that at town. Mm-hmm. Decision has to be made above my pay grade, but it's there. It was closer to what Plan Swift can do. I've never used OST, but I have used Plan Swift in the past, and it's good, but it's not what Review can do.
And so from a takeoff standpoint, they're very similar in that you can bring in drawings, and I think in those cases, they might even take them from PDFs to TIFFs or image files, right, but you're overlaying, highlighting scope or placing scope, which then can correspond to, have more data tied to those. But it is different than Bluebeam. In the Bluebeam, in the workflow of Millwork, those estimates then eventually are, hey, you win this job. Those drawings need to be referenced by the rest of the business for the rest of the project, right? Your project managers, your drafters, your engineers are going to be looking at those to understand what scope you guys accepted. So this corresponds, and this kind of leads into what you were talking about before, is like these markups you're using to do a quantity takeoff and ultimately a bid. So you're creating data to say, hey, I've got this many square feet of wall panels, and we are pricing that at a square foot price, and maybe some other operation markups and things.
But I've even taken it a step further. I have a budget profile where I do just that. But in something like wall paneling, for example, I've created custom columns that match my takeoff software and the options that it gives me. So I can actually go through and tell you, because of the customization, does it have reveal strips? How many edges get edge banded, for example, and what type, right? So if it's all, although that I leave that more to the estimating software, but is it E4S? Does it only get on 2 height? Are we applying French cleat? Are we applying Z clip to that? Sorry, Z clips, Z clips. I'm Canadian. Don't hold it against me. But those options are available to me because I've created those custom columns to give my team that option. We can just put that right into the software. And again, when it moves forward to our engineering department, they can see that right away, that this is, here it is. This is the grade that it is. What are the options that we've included in with that paneling without having to reference back into the estimating software or anything else? So those are the things that I was talking about. When you start customizing it and moving it forward, that's where it really becomes great. What's even better is you can use those same custom columns with other things, like drywall panels, for example. They get the same basic options. Where you get the options are still built for you. You just apply them differently to the tool.
But I think that's really interesting. What you point out is that obviously you're building into these takeoff options, the things that fill out and basically give you what you're going to do in your takeoff software anyways to get pricing. But more than that, it's also informing down the life cycle of a project. So you get this job awarded. Most companies, engineers and drafters are used to, okay, I've got to go look at the drawings, but also this scope document or something that tells me, I see on the drawings, in this room we have this, but I don't really know much more about it until I look at the scope document that says, oh, we're including full depth reveals, a little bit of print match veneer, that type of stuff. You're building some of those options to where potentially your drafter can just get everything they need from Bluebeam, from the markup.
Correct.
Bid drawing, right?
Correct. I've even got some examples of my custom calls. Like one, I exported our whole product category out of takeoff and then imported it into review as a custom column. And then those are subject based. So if I have a base cabinet, for example, or any base casework, for example, I only get a list of all of our standard base cabinets. So those come up. And then does it get a lock? They need that product right away. Is it a BFH1, right? So everybody's going to know it's a base full ice, one door kind of thing, right? Something like a drawer tank, does it get a recycle bin pull out? Okay, that's there. Does it get lock? What's the pull? I've even integrated in what's the pull that goes on there. Is it a drill pull? Is it an edge pull? Is it an inset pull? Things like that. You can build all that stuff and customize review so it just works for you, right?
And so you're obviously yourself heavily developing tools, tool palettes and things like that. Are you sharing those with other people in your organization?
I do. My whole team has those tools, our whole estimating team. And of course because they're attached to the PDF, they just carry forward with the document as they go. We do keep a set on our server. So if anybody needs it, it's there for download. Estimating is going to use different tools than our engineering department and our project management department. So they're available. They're there. Do they use them? That's up to the user and their work.
Speaking of workflows, how are you guys leveraging this as far as collaborating on files and things like that? So you're the estimator, they're your files, or are you setting things up in a way to leverage Bluebeam Studio or servers, or what do you do?
We don't, but we have our own internal server. So they stay on a server. Our estimating team works off SharePoint. We just found it a little easier. Working in the cloud I find so much better, especially when you're working at home, the times that we do that. It's just easier all around, but it goes to our server and then it's accessible for everyone anyway. But yes, we could easily quickly upload it to a session or a project is just as fast. I wish our team would use it a little bit more. Unfortunately, they've just decided they're going to use it on their server and on our server, and okay, that works for everybody.
Right.
All right.
So but do those files go through your organization after estimating? Say that you
Yes,
wanted,
if
right?
we've got, as an estimator, you're normally going to get the issued for tender set. And then once the construction drawings come out, you're going to get that issued for construction set. So the markups easily transfer over just by doing a process at Bluebeam called slip sheeting. They just automatically transfer over. So even if you're working on, as long as it's done, the latest and greatest drawings are always going to have those estimator markups there ready that you can see it. So yeah.
So you guys utilize slip sheeting. Have you leveraged sets, or do you use slip sheeting in place of sets?
I actually prefer sets myself to work that way. I find that one of the things the town does, we do the big projects. That is one of our wheelhouse. We are large. We are arguably Canada's largest architectural millwork company. So when we get a big project and we've got a 400 or 500 page document set, I find it much easier to break those drawings down into individual pages and work that way. It's so much nicer to.
It takes a little bit more work on the front end where people aren't used to it, but yes. And I get for people listening. So Bluebeam has a couple different options. So slip sheeting, which you mentioned first, say you have a large, and what we do, architects will release drawing set, and then they will release revisions, but maybe not a revision to every page. But in a single PDF document with lots of sheets, and slip sheeting allows you to take an updated version of that and match up each page with the newer version so that when you open that document, you see them in the correct sequence, page by page. Sets is similar. However, what sets does, if you think of taking that big PDF document with a bunch of pages, break it up into a single file for every page. Sets then is an interface that does the same thing, but instead of having to open that huge big file all at once, you're just navigating through sets. Hey, I want to open this sheet. And then it's only opening the individual file. So it operates a little bit faster in that you're opening one page, smaller files, only what you need to access at a time.
Right. Yeah, there's a couple other things. You're going to know how to deal with a few things with sets. You have to have the ability to run a batch summary. You have to remember that when you're working in a set, it's one page. It's one document. So your markups that you made on A200 are not going to show up in the markups list if you've got A400 open, for example. It doesn't work that way. You just have to know how to do it. One of the things I teach my guys is, when there are certain things you want to apply to the whole document, make sure you do that when it's a whole document before you've broken it down into individual pages. If you want to apply custom statuses, your custom columns, any tweaks to those custom columns that have to be there, things like that, make sure you're doing that to the whole document. It's so much easier. There are ways to do it, but it's another step that you don't really have to do.
Okay. We've talked about a lot of stuff you've done, and some of this may be Greek to people, but so people are somewhat familiar. How did you go about the process of starting to learn how to do these things, and what was possible, and how to teach yourself to do them with Bluebeam?
I just made it a point to try and learn it. I started on YouTube, started on LinkedIn, started on the Bluebeam web, just on the Bluebeam help files, and learning how to do things like that. I lucked out somehow and got in contact with a guy named Troy DeGroat, who at the time was working for US CAD. Sorry, Troy, I have to say that. And he's now gone out on his own with U Chapter 2. And he has become a friend, a mentor, and a very good coach. That's really where I learned everything from, and others as well. There's other people out there that have YouTube videos that you just start learning and you go, oh, okay, I can utilize that and utilize that. Oh, and you start figuring out the best way to do that. And eventually you just go, okay, now I got to start putting all this stuff together. You've got to go, oh, okay, now, but yeah, I don't know where I'd be without Troy. And I got a chance to meet him last year at XCon, which was amazing. And hopefully they're going to bring XCon back and we'll get together again in the near future.
So, XCon, that's what Bluebeam puts on as one of their conferences?
Bluebeam had a conference. They ran it every year pre-COVID, and then COVID put it on hiatus for a couple of years. We did an XCon anywhere in 2021. which was all virtual. And then last year they did it in San Diego. And for whatever reason, we didn't have one this year. So there was 1,100 of us, I think, something like that got together in San Diego. And I was fortunate enough to be selected as a speaker. And I talked on this very subject here on interoperability. But yeah, it's a great party and a great place to learn. It really took us all, it hit us all pretty hard that we're going to have one this year. And we're like, what?
Yeah. So you mentioned U Chapter 2. So is that a group or is it a company?
It's a company. It's a website. Troy runs a training company. He is probably the only one in the industry who is on his own and out there doing industry-based training on Bluebeam, but I'm involved in it quite a bit. So in the forums a lot, talking with people, a group of us from pretty much all over. There's one guy in the UK, a lot of Americans, a couple guys in Canada, whatnot. It's a great little community is how we put it together, right?
For people who are curious about starting down this path, okay, I think we could be leveraging Bluebeam better than we are as an organization.
Yeah.
And what would you recommend for them as first steps on how to find out more information and just about that?
I would start if you're jumping into Review 21, from what I understand, Bluebeam University now comes complete with Review 21. Jump in there, watch their videos, take their courses. They're very basic, but they will give you the foundation that you're going to need. That's what you want to do. The other thing that I've told to some of guys who are a little bit older than I am, I'm 55 and the guys a little older than I am, change your workflow from paper. Do what you were doing on paper, but do it digitally. If you were going through and doing highlights and everything, great. Bluebeam has a highlighter tool. Use it. Don't think because you're going paperless now or you're going more digital, that you have to change everything. Don't. Bluebeam has tools that you've been using forever, like a little Cloud Plus tool or a little call out tool that you can just point an arrow to a spot and then open a text box somewhere else. So don't change anything at first. Get comfortable with the software and you'll soon realize that, hey, this isn't all that much different than doing things on paper. I even we have one project manager who did like to slip sheet manually. He'd print out his drawings and he'd slip sheet them in this and go like this. And I went to him, I said, hey, you're doing the exact same thing here by doing Bluebeam. Cool. And they're stacking them on top of each other, right? And putting a little arrow that says, oh, there's pages underneath rather than just adding a flag to it. So if I had any advice, just do that at first. Get comfortable with the software. Then go into the customizations. Come find me. Come find U Chapter 2. Come find the community. It's out there. All of us are open to help. And talk to your reseller because they generally have some pretty good people behind there too.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what about as far as like organizational change management? A lot of people probably listen to this and maybe they're not a manager or decision maker, but they're a user and they're trying to say, hey, how do I get my organization to leverage these tools better?
Well, they can talk to me and they can tell me what they're doing because I'd love it. You have to show people. You really have to show people what it can do. Otherwise, they're not going to do it. When you're working with adults, you have to give them a practical reason to make a change. That's the way we as adults learn. We're not just going to do something for the sake of doing it. There has to be a good reason. Show them something that it's going to say, okay, this is going to save you a couple hours by just doing it this way. This is going to save your team hours. Especially when you get updated drawings. Now, when you put them on a server, everybody has access to that fully updated set of drawings. You don't have 3 or 4 people that need a complete new set of drawings printed out. And what if one guy's working from home right now in today's day and age, or it's your installer and he's out at the site and all of a sudden he's got to get new drawings. You've got to courier new drawings out to him or send them out with the next delivery or whatever. That's the kind of the thing when you want to talk about organizational change, you have to make it worth everybody's while. right?
No, that's definitely something I've worked in companies and worked with companies where they're still, hey, I've marked up my drawings and I'm out. So you can now open them up, put your highlights in them. And that's like in Bluebeam, hey, you can create a studio session
Yeah.
and upload the same file. Everybody can mark up at the same time at different times, and you have the entire history. And there's a lot of these things that I think people, because they don't know what's possible or they've never done it, they just stop at what they currently know. And then everything else is just not possible in the world. And thinking there are solutions for almost everything that you don't know is possible. So reaching out and getting to the community and then looking at things like this. Hey, if I'm experiencing pain points, somebody else has probably already experienced these and has figured out some other way.
Right.
And how can I go about finding that out? And following you on LinkedIn is a huge start. You mentioned you chapter 2. Obviously, if you have Bluebeam licenses, especially active with 21 and newer, you have access to Bluebeam University. But there's also user groups.
Bug groups are amazing. Some of those groups are amazing. The Australian groups, if you follow like the Melbug and Fidbug on YouTube, they're amazing. They're flat out amazing. Of course, the 17-hour time difference throws you off. They really are amazing.
You can start out every morning with yesterday's post.
Exactly.
Awesome. So from an industry impact, obviously we both work in the millwork industry. Right. What do you see as the future of people leveraging Bluebeam and its impact in this industry?
For me, I want to see it be used more for collaboration tools. And I think we got to get some architects on board and GCs on board, especially with studio sessions and leveraging it. For you running an engineering company, probably have your biggest pain point is probably shop drawing reviews and red line returns and back and forth. If we can start getting everybody in on a session, we're doing our markups and our red lines on our shop drawing reviews as a group, we're going to cut down, a month, 6 weeks from every project minimum. For what? For the cost of nothing, because it's included in your subscription. Like we talk about studio projects, and I want everybody to know, talk about the studio part and studio projects and studio sessions. They're included with your subscription. So use them. It is what it is. And get your architect on board, get your GC on board. Let's get everybody collaborating on this. Let's not just email a copy off somewhere and then forget to upload the markups and go back and forth. Let's just do that. That's number one. The other thing is we're seeing now is the 3D aspects. Bluebeam allows you to use 3D PDFs, like use and create 3D PDFs. And we're actually doing a project right now. It's a mall here in Vancouver that's got some really crazy things in it. But because we've got a Revit user who's making 3D PDFs, we're able to twist these and show different angles that it would take us forever to draw in 2D. So, and it's the 5 minutes it takes to create the 3D PDF we can share. And the best thing is you don't need to have Revit installed on your computer to view this drawing in 3D. So you're just looking at it in Bluebeam and being able to twist it and take a look. You can even do section splits and a couple other fun things to it, right? So that is the one aspect I see where this industry is going to need it. You've got designers coming up with, if you've seen it, crazy 3D renderings with twisted wood with compound curves or throwing metal on things. Oh, good Lord. How do you explain to a designer that metal doesn't bend both ways? It's like, what are you doing, right?
Yeah. No, that's definitely, so for us, like we have our core business, we do draft outstaffing, and we work with many clients and have many teammate members, and we utilize Bluebeam Studio for everything that we do. So both projects and sessions project, we allow us to create a project per client with folder structures, and we can push files to sessions and pull them back and update them, right? But we use sessions, and a lot of people don't realize this, but you can actually share sessions with people who don't have licenses of Bluebeam. And they can use a free light version of Bluebeam Review. I think they might even be able to access it from the web, but basically what a session is, in the way Bluebeam explains it, imagine you're at a table reviewing drawings with other people, marking them up all in real time. A session is a virtual version of that. So it is a literal instance where hey, I can specifically control the permissions, invite people to it, upload documents to it, multiple documents, and mark them up. And you have an entire history of who has done what when. You can actually follow people virtually. So if there's multiple pages, you can say, hey, I want to follow the client, what he's marking up, and it'll watch what he's doing. But I could be on different pages marking up, and they can be marking up, and all of it stays there together. So we use it internally. We have internal QC where as we're completing drawings, so we might have a huge 5-floor hospital, right? That is hundreds of pages of drawings. The drafters will have multiple people working on it. Each one, as they complete sections, they upload them for review. And a supervisor, a team leader can go in and mark them up and review them. And then they can say, hey, I'm done with my review. The next level up will do it. When all that's done and revised, we will then have a session that we invite the client to. And the customer will then review the drawings there as well, so that we don't have to email files back and forth. We don't have to send them through OneDrive or anything like that. It's just, hey, here's a link to the session where your drawings are. We actually include our finished drawings, a file with the architecturals, a file with the scope, so that whoever needs to review, because we have supervisors or managers that are reviewing the project after project, they just open that session. Everything that you need to references in there. In Bluebeam, you can do side by side. So I can have my architecturals and drawings or my revised version. You can overlay. There's a bunch of features that make it easy, but essentially it's all in one place. And then when they're done, because I've had this, I used to manage engineering departments. I've had problems where, say, an architect or a PM would mark up the drawings, and then I would mark up the drawings, and the drafter would have to reference multiple files to get all the markups. Or they would have field dimensions from one site visit and then a set or a physical set, right? All of that through a session can be put on one document and in multiple people's markups. So that person who has to incorporate all those can look in one place and have them. And to take it a step further, we actually have our people have their own stamps, so that then I can see, did they incorporate my markups? And I highlight them. Hey, yep. And put their initials and a date. I made this change. I made this change. This change. And so we use that for internal client QC, and to collaborate with clients who aren't even familiar with.
You may want to consider, instead of the stamping, it's up to you, but consider I'm going to statuses, start using the statuses in session. There are some tricks with using statuses in session. So you have to have those.
Finish until
What's
you're
that?
ready. Don't hit finish until you're.
No, that's the thing. And yeah, you have to have the statuses available before you upload the document. It's one of the biggest things when you're dealing with statuses in session. But again, that's just, another option. Because then you've got a list in the markups list that says, okay, yeah, this was modified by this person on this date, done. And you can just see it right there, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of base. I know we've talked a lot about Bluebeam, and I'm sure that Bluebeam's going to love all this advertisement we're going to give them. But is there anything else just on estimating on your experience that you'd like to share that's valuable for people?
If you're going to be an estimator, read a lot. You read the specs. The devil's really in the details. You'd be surprised what some tiny little detail you think you covered, but then you miss it. And then your project manager comes down on you and they go, hey, what's going on? Learn. Try and be a constant, continuous learner. If you're going into this trade, others on this podcast have talked about this before. We don't do wood anymore. I think really we're doing solid surface now. We do metals. We do glass. We're doing phenolics. We're doing, you name it. It's crazy now, the amount of what we're doing. We do light boxes, so we can do low voltage lighting now. We're doing, you name it. So you gotta have that background to go, how do we do this? What's this? So just try and be a lifelong learner, and it'll really help you as an estimator. All right.
Awesome. Before we wrap up, there's two questions I like to ask every guest. And the first one is, what do you see changing in the millwork industry over the next 5 to 10 years?
The 3D stuff, where I see us really moving into that. I've seen some really crazy stuff in the last year coming. Now, more designers have access to Revit and some of the 3D programming. And we're now trying at the point as mill workers, how do we build this stuff? right? Not just how do we draw this stuff, but how do we build this stuff? I know one of my bosses has gone to IWF and AWFS there to look for 3D printers that are capable of printing large scale, like drywalls, like bars. Like, for example, we're doing a bar at a stadium that's going into Los Angeles right now that has a wavy front, and that front is full of compound curves. And then the architect wanted it clad in metal. So we're like, how do we do this? Like, how do we even build this to be on the front? The other thing I see changing a lot is the materials, right? On this bar as well, we're actually testing metal veneer, a spray on metal veneer. It's called Metal. That's been in Europe for 5 or 10 years now, and it's making its way through that. But we're giving it a shot on this. It looks amazing, creating brushed stainless steel in our spray booth, and it's pretty cool. I would suggest anybody in this millwork industry start looking into this. It's pretty cool. But like I say, and cost-wise, it's actually a little bit cheaper than going to standard metal. So especially when they've got to start roll bending it and bending it to forms and everything else, your cost is going to be, it's right there. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, on the flip side, second question, what do you see staying the same in the future?
The people. We've got a great group in this whole community. We are getting older, unfortunately. I would like to see way more young kids come in, but the skill and what the people have, that's going to remain the same. I think you're going to see architects continue wood. Guests, a couple all through have seen wood. We're organic. We're the beauty part of any project, and you're going to see that. So we're going to be around. Whether AI takes over us, or I don't see it too much. I don't see robots ever taking over this work because it's too much that you have to be able to physically do with your hands. There's some stuff, yes. I mean, robotics, great. We have CNCs in this industry. Okay, there are robots. But when it comes to putting it together, I don't see it, not quite yet. So our people, that's what's going to continue. I see the office people, we're going to continue. We're going to grow. And I think hopefully the trades are also going to start valuing mill workers and not seeing, you guys are the finishing trades, you're the last guy in. Like, wait a minute. We got more value to you than that, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
I appreciate that feedback. I think I agree with both those
Yeah.
things. I appreciate you taking time out to speak with us today and share your experience. And if people want to reach and find out more about the work you're doing with Bluebeam, or just to contact you, what's the best way to reach out and find out about you?
Find me on LinkedIn. I'm available on LinkedIn. I post regularly. I posted something this morning. I'm starting to get into some video blogging a little bit, just touching on it just a little bit, dipping my toe, as it were. You can find me at UChapter 2, which is a great forum. I know it's a weird name, but just look it up. Just Google it. You'll get there. You can find me. You can email me. I'm sure you'll put my email here in the notes. I'm always willing to talk. I talk with a couple of other mill workers and talk what they're doing and my process. If you want to see some of our custom columns, I do have my whole process out as a studio session or a studio project. So I'm more than willing to share that code with you. I can share it with you, Jacob. You can put it in the show notes. Sure. It was my XCon presentation and how it goes about it. And in there is a step-by-step instruction on how to do some of the things I do. That's the best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to put that in the show notes and share with everybody. So I appreciate your time and you sharing with us, and I look forward to continuing to talk in the future, hopefully having you on again.
Yeah, that'd be good. Because one of the things I don't think we did talk about on here is one of the best things about review, and I think we did touch on it, is getting it out, getting your data out of review. And then that just unleashes its power. But because the data in this industry, if something else is going to change in this industry, it's going to be, what do we do with our data? All right. That's going to be the whole construction industry. Right. That's big.
Yeah, for sure. I look forward to taking the conversation maybe next time then.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thanks,
Probably
Doug.
be at work next time.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Do you want to stay up to date about industry insights, new content, and our community of millworkers? Go to ductworksmw.com to sign up for our newsletter. I'll see you in the next episode of Verify in Field.